but what do you have? Again, this could be anything from I have an espresso maker at home that I love and it makes me little happy cappuccinos every day. All right, well, maybe you should just take some photos of those. Like take some photos of you with your cappuccino every morning if that's what's making you happy, and be grateful that you have that. Or maybe it's your dog or just something else, physical material in your home that you have that you just really enjoy. All right, well, think about that. Think about all the things that you do have that make you happy and that you enjoy. Hey Ninja Babes, I'm stoked to have a mindset lesson with you today. Today we're talking about FOMO, fear of missing out, and comparison. Those two really go hand in hand in my mind, and it's something I like to tackle together. And so that is the teaching that we're going to focus on today. And like it or not, we all deal with comparison or FOMO to some extent. Even if you're like, I don't even look on social media anymore, you probably still deal with it when you think of somebody that you know in your life, or you look at TV, or you just, think of other people in your circles and make those comparisons of, like, I wish I blank, or, why does this person always so good at such and such, like whatever it is. Maybe just in the gym you experience this comparison. Maybe it's not even looking at somebody else, but it's actually when you're at practice or somebody on your team, you do have these same experiences or these same thoughts of comparison. So that's a topic we're going to dive into today. But before I get into the teaching, I actually have a ton of updates that I'm so excited to share with you. This feels like personal story time. I just feel like I haven't had a moment on the podcast in so many weeks to just be personable with all of you, and to just like tell you what's up. So I got married. I feel like a lot of you already know this, but in case you missed it, I got married on October 3rd, 2020, redeeming 2020, had to find something good to happen this year, because this year has been, so crazy. It's been a wild ride for so many of us. But super excited. The wedding was very beautiful. It was like everything I could have asked for. So thank you for all of you who sent congratulations and wedding happy gifts and well wishes. Thank you so much, Kyle and I really appreciate it. And then secondly, I wanted to say that the content today, talking about comparison, talking about FOMO, it's actually something that I go into very in depth in our Ninja Babes workshop, the one entitled Comparison, Kryptonite, or Confidence Builder. It goes into that workshop goes more in depth into the same material. So if you're listening to today's episode and you're like, oh, gee, like I really wish so-and-so could hear this, or like this would be great for my gym, team to hear. This would be great for my Girl Scout troop to hear. This would be great for a group of friends to just get together and really talk about this more in depth. That is what these Ninja Babes workshops are for. And I can teach them online or in person if you happen to be in a radius of New Jersey that is travelable, if that's a word. So I just want you to keep that in mind as you listen today, and check out all the other workshop options online as well. You can request workshops. You don't have to wait until I'm offering one. You can request one for your gym, and then that's really special because I can personalize it with your coaches and with your team, or, like I said, Girl Scout troops, things like that. So anyways, other announcement is that the website, theninjababes.com, is brand new. Maybe you noticed today is the first day that it's live. You can check out the new website. Let me know what you think. Send us a DM or an email, theninjababes@gmail.com, or updates at theninjababes.com. We put in so much time and effort into revamping the website and the online store. So very exciting news is that if you notice the online store, we have Black Friday sales right now going on. So everything is discounted, which is awesome. But if you're like, wow, Kara, this discount is just not big enough for me, let me tell you, there's a way to get an even bigger discount. And who does not love a sale? I know that I do. So one way that you can not only show Ninja Babes and the world how much Ninja Babes means to you and what you've learned from it, what you've gleaned from it, but also get an amazing discount, is to write us a review. So if you head on over to iTunes, the iTunes podcast platform, you can scroll all the way down when you tap on the Ninja Babes episodes and like the Ninja Babes show in podcasts on iTunes. You scroll all the way down. You can write a review, and you could also write us a review on Facebook. So when you write a review and then message us, whether through email or DM, show us what your review was, that you did write a review, that it's there, what your name is. We will send you a one-time discount code that is double what is on the Black Friday sale right now. So again, write a review, send it to us just to prove that you did write it. We will send you a one-time discount code that is double what the Black Friday sale is. All right, I think those are my announcements. So definitely grab your masks, your brand new shirts, the Bolt t-shirts, the awesome Ninja Babe jean jackets that are customizable. I love them. I'm just so excited. I love my jacket. I'm wearing it around the house just for like no apparent reason, just because I love them so much. So, all right, let's dive into the episode. So, I conveniently planned this episode to be around Thanksgiving time, because that's typically the time of year everyone's talking about gratefulness, trying to, kind of reset and remember like, oh yeah, I am thankful for things in my life. And what am I thankful for? And what am I grateful for? Just trying to like reset their minds. Some people don't celebrate Thanksgiving. That's totally fine too. This episode still applies. It's just that concept of it's a good time to kind of force yourself into the habit of self-evaluating and realizing like, all right, what am I really thinking? Are you getting stuck in those negative cycles of comparison? Or are you getting stuck where FOMO just is beating you up and you feel stuck in that rut of FOMO? Or are you trying to take action to kind of fight against FOMO in your own mind or counteract those negative effects of comparison and turn it into something constructive? So that's the point of today. So you might have noticed about 2 weeks ago on the Ninja Babes page on a Motivation Monday, we had posted this like snappy little comparison cycle and talked about the stages of comparison, how you can use comparison in a constructive way. Because I think this is kind of like what happens in our mind is that if you're not thinking about it, if you're not consciously trying to combat it, we often see a picture of somebody on social media or we see somebody at the ninja gym or whatever, and we're impressed or jealous or whatever. We see them doing an obstacle, for example, that we really want to get. Maybe we haven't gotten it yet, or maybe you have gotten it, but it's took you like weeks to get it, and this person's gotten it like first try. It's a little bit infuriating, but you're also like in awe of how awesome they are, and so it's a mix of feelings perhaps. But sometimes we deal with that pang of like, wow, like they're just really good at this. I wish I was that good at this, or like, why is it that I'm trying so hard to do the same things and I'm just not getting it? And so when we have those feelings, sometimes it can take us from this moment of just recognizing that they're good at something to then spiraling into this negative thought spiral, if you want to say, of, wow, why are they so much better than me? I'm just not good at it. I must just really kind of suck at ninja. I don't even want to go do this competition this weekend because I'm just going to be awful. And it can just like throw you into this negative spiral, and you don't have to stay there. Like, I feel like we all get stuck in those places sometimes, but you don't have to stay there. So today I'm going to go through a lot of examples of my own personal life, like true personal examples of when I've dealt with FOMO or when I've dealt with comparison. I'm also going to pull out a couple examples that some of you submitted on social media to just really make this real and help everybody see what happens, but also how can we follow this cycle that I've mapped out on the comparison cycle, I think I've called it. I'm going to actually open my phone right now and read from the post. So all right, so this was on November 16th. We had posted on the Ninja Babes page. We said, are you trapped by comparison? And led you into these 4 steps on a cycle of unpack, evaluate, admit, and action. So it's kind of like when you find something that you're comparing yourself to and it's making you feel bad, instead of just going with that negative spiral, let's unpack it. So what I mean by that is, what are you seeing? So let's pick an example and really make this tangible. So the warp wall, for example, somebody got the 15-foot warp wall, and you see this happening at the gym or on social media, and you're like, wow, how did this person get this so quickly in one day? I've been trying for weeks. I've been literally doing box jumps, like doing everything I can to try to build my leg strength. I still haven't gotten that. And you feel a little bit perturbed. Maybe you're jealous. Maybe you're just kind of like bummed, like, wow, why is everyone getting this stuff and I'm not? But instead of just falling into that negative cycle, let's first unpack it. So first of all, what's going on here? All right. Well, this individual clearly has athletic ability. Clearly, maybe they've been working on this obstacle. Maybe they've never stepped foot into a gym, but maybe they've been playing other sports, or they do a lot of other strength training or something that is now supplementing them in the ninja gym. So really unpack it. Think about like, what is the context of what's going on? What am I seeing and feeling? What is it about this person that's bringing up these feelings in me that maybe you don't feel good? So maybe, think on all levels, like unpack what you're seeing about that person, what you're feeling inside yourself, and how it's making you react. All right, so then evaluate. What is it about that other person that you wish you were true about yourself? What is it about that person that you admire, that you respect, that you wish you had or could do? Think of everything that comes to mind, because this isn't just one thing. A lot of times when we really get hung up on some of these different points of FOMO or comparison, it's like there's several things interlocking going on. So going back to this warp wall example, wow, I really admire the fact that this person got up the warp wall and they were successful. So, I wish that I could do that. I admire that everyone's cheering for them. I admire that they have this success. I admire that they make it look easy. I wish I could do that myself. I want to feel proud of myself. I want to feel accomplished. And you're seeing in your mind even that, oh, well, this person's getting it, so they must feel proud. They must feel accomplished. There's also a lot of assumptions going on, right? So that you're assuming that because they're getting up the wall, they must be really confident. They must be really happy. They must be proud of themselves. And so then you're interpreting that situation onto yourself and saying like, okay, well, if I got the warp wall, I would probably feel really good. I'd probably be so excited. And maybe you would. Like, these aren't fake assumptions, like, to some extent. But this is how our mind goes, right? Our mind likes to imagine and fill in the gaps that we don't necessarily know. So after you evaluate, what is this really making you feel? The next part is to admit to yourself and really identify what you desire to see in your own life compared to what you're seeing in this other person. But make this about yourself. So don't let jealousy or self-criticism sidetrack you and become extra obstacles in the way as you try to bring yourself on this upward spiral, right? Focus on yourself. Don't focus on, oh, but they're just so much better than me. No, just get that out of your head. So what is it, again, what is it about what this person's doing or what they're accomplishing that you desire to see in your own life? So again, we kind of already said this, but it's kind of that idea of, wow, so-and-so got this obstacle. They're getting the warp wall. I want to get that. I want to feel accomplished. I want to be there. And then the fourth step is action. So now that your mind isn't clouded by negative comparisons and you really realize what it is that you want, what it is that you want to get, you want to get up the warp wall, it's time to make a plan to reach your goals. Everyone has room for improvement. So it's about strengthening yourself. So you can literally go up to that person and say, why are you so good at this? And they might be all like coy and be like, oh, whatever, I'm not that great. But you can ask them, maybe they really have been training for this obstacle. Maybe they've been working really hard for this obstacle and they've been training legs. They've been doing all sorts of uphill sprints and all kinds of stuff to prepare them for this. Have you been doing that? Maybe you've been trying, but maybe they have a better plan of exercise, or maybe you've broken an ankle in the past and you really need to work on strengthening your legs evenly. Like, maybe there's something going on that you haven't really evaluated in your own life. So make a good plan, figure out, ask questions, ask coaches, ask other people, ask a physical therapist, figure out what can you be doing differently. Don't just sit there and feel sorry for yourself. It's about making a plan, reevaluating, asking for help, and truly taking action. And once you've really done all those things, once you've really evaluated what is it that I'm seeing in this person that I want, why do I want it, what is lacking in my own life, or what is an insecurity in my own life that I'm kind of blaming on, FOMO, or just kind of like blaming it on that person and feeling bad about myself, instead of realizing and taking ownership of it, realizing what it is, being humble and saying like, okay, well, I'm just not that good at this. Or I wish that I had this and I don't. I'm going to make a plan. When you make a plan and you really take ownership over those things, it's going to build your confidence. When you talk to other coaches and you're not just having a pity party and telling everybody that you can think of why you're so bummed about XYZ, like, no, you talk to them and you truly look for help and you humbly take action. It'll build your confidence and it'll help you reach your goals. So let's go through like a slew of examples, right? So that was pretty basic one. I feel like everyone at one point in their life, if you're a ninja, has dealt with some sort of like warp wall woes. All right, so let's talk about another one. What about A&W casting calls, right? Sometimes there's people that make a submission video every season and it seems like they just never get called. Or they get called one season, they never get called back. And it's so easy to look around, when calls are going out. And I know, it's a little different now with COVID, but historically, right? Calls go out, everybody posts, yay, I got the call. And it's that pang of like, oh my God, am I going to get the call? Why did this person get the call and I didn't get the call? Like those feelings like can well up inside and really grip you. And of course, like that's something exciting that we're excited for them for. It's like that anxious waiting period of will I get the call? But then after calls have gone out and you realize like, they didn't call me. It's that moment of like, what are you going to do, right? Are you going to sit there and feel really sorry for yourself and be hurt and be sad? Are you going to be happy for your friends, but really wish you got the call, right? And it's that moment of comparison of like, well, why me? Why didn't they pick me? So let's go through the steps, right? So unpack it. What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What is it about the situation that's making you feel a certain way? And what are you even feeling? So maybe you see somebody got the call, you realize you're not getting the call, and you just think like, why is this person getting it and I'm not? Or it's not fair that they got it and, NPC doesn't know that I really deserve it and this person doesn't. Or maybe it's not even that you're saying they don't deserve it, but you're just like, I definitely deserve this. Why haven't I gotten it? It can be jealousy. It can be hurt. It can feel like all of your value and your self-worth is placed in the hands of getting the call for A&W. So evaluate those feelings. If you're feeling devalued or if you're feeling that pang of just sadness and disappointment, are you placing like everything good in life in getting the call or not? If you don't get the call, like then what? What does that really mean? Like are you losing out on something besides missing out on the opportunity to compete on the show? Are you missing out on something else? Like what is it that you feel like you're losing because you didn't get the call? Is it that you feel like you're going to miss out on respect from friends and family or kids at your gym or fans or all these different people? Is it that you feel like you're not really a great ninja unless you've been on the show? Is it, what are those feelings behind it? And then admit to yourself, how is all of that tied to your own life? So what do you desire to see in your own life compared to what you're seeing in everybody else's? And everything we just talked about, all those feelings that you evaluated and brought to the surface, all those thoughts about yourself that you brought to the surface, what do you recognize in yourself? So again, for example, are you thinking, I'm really just not worth it in the ninja community unless I've been on the show? I think that's a real thought that people have had before because I've heard people say it. And so admit, what do you want? You want to be on the show, okay, but you want what? Respect. You want to feel valued. You want to feel celebrated, like you're in the spotlight and like you've really accomplished something. So now in this case, I like this example because the action plan, right, is what? Try harder next year. I mean, that's kind of tough because the fate of being called for the show is never really in your hands. I mean, you can make the best video. You could pay somebody to edit your video. You can come up with the best plan. You can become a coach on some, nonprofit just to be able to have better things to write. It's like your college resume, right? It's like, what are all the good things you could put in your submission video? But the reality is, if they don't pick you, they don't pick you. So the action plan can't just be, try harder next year. Like that's not the answer because then you could just perpetually forever be stuck in this cycle, right? But if you're saying to yourself, I want to feel respected, I want to feel accomplished, I want people to celebrate and be proud of me, is that truly your motivating desire behind wanting to be on the show? If that's the case, then think, how will I fulfill those things? That's your action plan. It's not about fulfilling necessarily being on A&W. It's more so about fulfilling all those other desires that you're tying to A&W. So is there a way that you can volunteer and give back to your community? Is there a way that you can, start a group at your gym, or, that's lead some sort of group at your gym, whether it's being a coach or starting a ladies' night at your gym, doing something else that you can take leadership over, and you can really be in that spotlight in that sense. And it's not just for these vain reasons. It's you have something within you that you want to fulfill. You want to feel accomplished. You want to be proud. Like, then create something, like go after it in some other way. Be creative, right? What are other ways that you see in your life that you can fulfill these desires and these needs? All right, so now let's get to some personal examples. I have dealt with comparison and FOMO in several different ways, right? There's so many. I'm sure I can think of a million examples, but I want to pick a couple of unique ones, right? I'm not afraid of being vulnerable, so here goes. For example, before Ninja Warrior, I was doing a lot of casting calls and things for modeling. I really wanted to get involved with modeling and fashion. And so I was in a lot of local fashion events, a lot of like local modeling for small businesses. I was working my way up into larger scale things like New York Fashion Week and things like that. But I still just always felt this pang. Like when I would see other girls who I'd be going to castings with or whatever, I would compare myself to them. I would say, like, what do they have that I don't? Or what are they doing that I'm not doing? And sometimes, like, I'd be looking at girls who looked nothing like me. And so I'm not going to go change my coloring of my eyes, or like, I'm not going to go do something like that. I still want to be who I am. But what are they doing that I can learn from? Right? So that point of unpacking, like, what is it about them that's working? What are they doing well? How then evaluating, like, what is she doing that I want? Or, she's being successful, or, she's booking castings, she's in photos and magazines, whatever. What is it that I want? I want the same thing, but what is she doing? Like, in my action plan, it's like, what's working for her and why? She's confident. Her skin looks really good. She's able to walk on set and walk into this casting and really commands the room. And so it's not so much about me just mimicking her or becoming like her to a T. It's learning what is working in her situation and in who she is, and applying that to my own life in the way that works for Kara. And so I did that the best that I could. But fast forward the story, I always had this desire to be involved in modeling and be published and things like that. And so fast forward, once I got involved with Ninja Warrior, I started Ninja Babes, the podcast. All these things are happening. And then I was like, I want to sell stuff. I want to sell clothing and merchandise. And hey, look at that. I can model for my own company. And so just the fact that I created that avenue for myself, I've always been proud of it. I've always enjoyed it. And that's kind of a very large scale example. But, I was comparing myself to these other successful models, trying to find avenues where I could model and find my own success and accomplishment. But down the line, I actually just created my own pathway to model and for a company and be published. And yeah, I did that all on my own. But this is what I'm saying, even with like going back to my A&W casting example, maybe you're not going to be casted for A&W, but what can you do that's going to fulfill that same desire in your life? I want to get to an example from the recent post on our Ninja Babes page. It said, social media got you down. Do you have FOMO? So I'd asked for a couple examples, and the one example that's on there right now, No Core Ninja 2 said, FOMO that I can't work out how I'd like to due to a knee injury in comparison to others with where I should be at this point in my recovery journey. So let's talk about injuries for a sec, because this is definitely a point of FOMO and comparison that comes up a lot, especially for athletes, especially for ninja athletes. so much of our ninja world is like posting online what we're doing and sharing our stories, sharing cool obstacles. And so then when you're injured, it's rough. Like you can't do anything that you're seeing your friends do. And I know when I had my shoulder dislocation injury and I had to get surgery, one of the biggest points of FOMO initially for me was, oh man, like now I'm not training, I'm not competing, and all these other athletes who I would consider myself like equal to at that point, they're just going to pass me by. That was my fear of missing out. Like I'm not going to be able to keep up with them. And once I'm healed, they'll just be so much better than me. And it's like, I just felt so behind and I was just comparing myself in that sense to them. But I think also what No Core Ninja here in this post is referring to is like comparing your recovery journey to somebody else's. So even if there is another athlete who you've seen get injured and then they came back from their injury and they're doing amazing, it's like, well, okay, well then I should heal up and do amazing really quickly too. But everybody's body is different, right? And everybody's rate for recovery and healing is going to be different. So let's go through this cycle. Let's unpack this. So for example, if No Core Ninja is, I'm going to kind of imagine along with her comments here. So if she's seeing somebody else who had a similar injury and it seems like, they took their time off or whatever, they healed and they're back to doing really amazing things and they seem to have no issues. But maybe No Core Ninja is saying like, okay, well, I'm still dealing with this. I don't feel like I'm 100% back at my strength, or maybe obstacles I could do before I can't do now. Maybe she's in this limbo of, well, why aren't I there yet? So let's unpack it. When you see other athletes who are doing really well and they're like far down that line of recovery, we want to get there, right? I'm sure No Core Ninja wants to be at that point where she is successful in her recovery. She doesn't have pain. There's no more signs of injury. She's able to just do what she was doing before, right? And you want to just be good, right? So that's kind of like unpacking and evaluating. If you admit, well, what is it that you really want out of this situation? Well, you want to be doing well. And when we're able to really break down FOMO and comparisons this way, it kind of just makes it seem really simple, right? So point is, she wants to be healed. She wants to be doing well. She wants to be able to go back to what she was doing before. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think when you make that action plan and you really think about yourself in this situation, what is your history? What is it that your body has part of the mix, right? Maybe you've had other injuries on that side of your body that are affecting it. I unfortunately learned like the truth about, or probably fortunately, but I learned the unfortunate truth of, when you have an injury on one side of your body, if you mess up an ankle on one side, it's going to go all the way up the chain of your body and it can affect the way your shoulder operates or the way your knee operates. And it's like a lot of times our injuries are connected like that. So perhaps you've had some other injury in your body that's actually affecting your rate of recovery or how you come back from this injury. Maybe you have other stress going on in your life that some of these other people recovering don't have. And so you're dealing with this extra stuff that it's affecting, how much rest are you getting? It's affecting, your ability to eat really good, nutritious meals on a regular basis, right? There's all these different elements that affect your personal story and your personal experience. So it's okay to give yourself grace and to realize like my story and my experience is different. There's that age-old quote of don't compare your chapter 2 to somebody else's chapter 39, right? They're so much further in their story and in their journey than you are, and you don't know what's happened in all those other chapters of their life. So I think that analogy really rings true and makes so much sense when you think about it, right? Everyone is in a different point in their life. Everyone is experiencing something different. So it's all about, unpacking what you're seeing, evaluating it, realizing what do you really want? How is this really making me feel and why? And then what can I do about it? And so if you're in that point, especially in the injury recovery journey, because I was there too, right, with my shoulder, where you're just wishing all these different things. I wish I was better. I wish I didn't get hurt. I wish I could go back. I wish I could do all these things now that I want to do. How can you kind of turn all that off and say, well, there's so many different thoughts I'm having, but what is my plan? I want to be grateful for where I am right now. I want to realize all the good stuff that is happening for me right now. So that is the second part of all this, right? We've been talking a lot about this cycle of unpacking, but sometimes you can make that little action plan and it still just doesn't really feel like enough. So I want you to think, what are you grateful for, right? What do you have? Because it's so easy to talk about thankfulness and gratefulness, and it can feel cliche sometimes, or just like, oh, I'm thankful for the same list of 3 things over and over again, but there's all this other stuff going on in my life. So I want you to think, what do you have? Because let me bring it back to myself. For me, when I had my injury, when it first happened, I was sad, so sad that I couldn't do any of the NNLs coming up that summer, that fall, or that winter, right? That whole season was blown for me. I was sad that I had to get surgery, and, that's a lot of time and money and energy going into recovery and PT and all these different things. I was thinking it's easy to think about all the things that you're missing out on or losing because of the experience, but what did I still have? I clearly had so many friends and family who were sending me love and support in so many different ways, right? People who came over and made a meal for me, friends who lived close by, people who sent me cards in the mail. I appreciated them so much. Friends who would ask me how I was doing, other ninjas who had had a similar experience and who reached out to tell me their story. And I was like, I've never even spoken to you, and you're reaching out such a heart to heart. Like, thank you. I had that support and I had that love, and that meant so much to me. I still had my arm. I physically had my arm. And I know that sounds a little bit intense, but while I was going through recovery of my shoulder surgery, I watched the Bethany Hamilton documentary about, how she as a surfer had lost her arm and all that stuff. And I kept thinking, like, I still have my arm. Like, this girl lost her entire arm. It is gone. Mine was dislocated, but it's still there and it's back in place now. Like, I still have it. So I know it sounds a little weird, but I physically still had my arm. A lot of us, when we go through injuries, like, stuff gets messed up. Yes, don't get me wrong. Things break, things tear, meniscuses are removed, like, things go wrong. But do you physically still have the leg? Do you physically still have, the ability to repair and to recover? Is that still an option in your life? I think yes, for most of us. I know not for everyone, but for most of us, yes. And that is something huge to count. For me, I still had Ninja Babes. I still had the podcast and everything that you're listening to right now. I had that community and I had that passion to keep working at it and to keep, pouring all my energy into it. And so that was something very constructive that I could keep working at. So those are a few examples, but I want you to think, really, what do I have? Make a list of everything good that you can think of in your life. And then as you're looking at that list, so what are you grateful for? I'm grateful that I have these people that still care about me. I am grateful that I have the ability to heal and recover. I could be negative about all the things that I listed at the beginning of this example. I could be negative about the fact that I'm not competing and that I was doing so well and now I'm doing bad because I can't use my arm. I could be negative about all that stuff, but no, I'm grateful for what I do have. And realize that not everybody has the things you have. Sure, there's people that they have loss of loved ones, loss of limbs or different abilities. They suffer loss. So if you use comparison in that sense, you can realize what you do have that other people don't have. And realize, like, wow, I should be so thankful for what I do have. So making those lists, it's not cliche. It's not something that you should just do in kindergarten. I'm grateful and thankful for my family and my friends and my house. Like, I feel like that's what every kindergartner wrote on the Thanksgiving turkey feathers when they were in school. But it's that practice of being grateful, really listing out what you're thankful for and listing what you have. Sometimes just seeing it is like a mind blown, like, wow. Let's bring it to another example. Maybe on social media, you see somebody who's always traveling. It's like they're always going on a vacation, or they're always going somewhere cool. And you're like, I want to do that. I want to feel like I'm a jet setter, like traveling everywhere, and I have all these cool photos, places. And maybe you compare yourselves to their lives and you just think like, why don't I have that? Why aren't I traveling everywhere? I wish I could travel like that. They must have so much time on their hands. They must be nice. You know, you can get stuck in those thoughts. So unpack it. What is going on in the situation? Well, maybe that person literally has a sponsorship from like a camera company or something. Maybe it's like that extreme. Or maybe they just have family in Montana and they actually happen to go there a lot and they take a lot of cool photos. Or maybe, you know, maybe they really do travel all over the place and they have a good job and they're blessed. All right, cool. But, you know, think through it, unpack what you're seeing a little bit. But also evaluate what is it about this person that it's you're comparing yourself to, and why is it irking you, right? Why is it getting in your head and making you feel a certain way? Maybe you like the fact that their photos on social media are getting so many likes and so much attention. Maybe you're attracted to the fact that this person just looks really popular or looks really beautiful and incredible in all their photos, and you wish that you could go take such incredible photos. Maybe, you know, you are attracted to that popularity or just the fact that she seems admired or seems well-traveled, and you just wish that you could have that. All right, so why are those things bothering you? Is this hitting an insecurity? Are you thinking to yourself, I just don't think people think there's anything special about me. I just don't go anywhere. I don't do anything. My life's pretty boring. My life is just pretty lame. I wish that I felt exciting and fresh and attractive like that, but I just don't. All right, well, if that's the way you're feeling and if you're wishing that you had those things, then what is the action plan? You could get out and travel. You can get out and take fun photos, but maybe you physically are tied to a job or you really can't leave home, or COVID now, it's like hard to travel to a lot of places necessarily. So what is it? You want new experiences. You want to feel admired. You want to feel special. Okay, well, what is your action plan? And maybe that plan involves writing out a big old list of what you do have. Maybe you don't have the ability to travel right now, but what do you have? Again, this could be anything from I have an espresso maker at home that I love and it makes me little happy cappuccinos every day. All right, well, maybe you should just take some photos of those. Like, take some photos of you with your cappuccino every morning if that's what's making you happy, and be grateful that you have that. Or maybe it's your dog or just something else, physical material in your home that you have that you just really enjoy. All right, well, think about that. Think about all the things that you do have that make you happy and that you enjoy. Think about every single little one of them and write them down and make a big old list. Now, when you're looking at that list, what are you grateful for? I'm grateful that I have a home. I'm grateful that I can work out at home. I have great gym equipment here, or I have the ability to make coffee in my favorite coffee mug every day. I'm glad for my husband or my wife or my spouse, my girlfriend, boyfriend, significant other. I'm happy for these special people in my life. Literally just write out everything you can think of. And then realize, what do you have that not everyone else has? So yeah, bringing it back, maybe you're not traveling, and that's the point of you feeling sad, right? You're not traveling, but what do you have? And maybe there's someone who would look at your life and say, oh, wow, well, this person has that and I wish I had that. Sometimes we miss that. You know, people are looking at you, probably thinking the same things that you're thinking about somebody else, right? And you might say, well, no, there's nothing good about my life. But think about it. What do you have in your life that not everyone else has? Maybe you have a loving significant other. Not everyone else has that. Maybe you have, you know, a great business that's really flourishing and is doing well and it's growing and it's exciting. Not everyone has that. Maybe you have, you know, a humble heart and a true friendship that you offer to the friends around you. Like you're a true soul that really listens and gives great advice or just really loves to support your friends. Not everyone else has that ability, and not everyone else has a friend like you. So really make it about yourself. What do you have that not everyone else has? What do you value about your own life and about yourself? and focus on those things. So next time you see those posts on social media where you're like, oh, so-and-so is traveling to some exotic place. All right, well, maybe you don't have that, but what do you have that I bet that person doesn't have? If you want more of this content, if you want some real personalized one-on-one help with this sort of comparison or FOMO, you can always book a one-on-one with me. Just head on over to theninjababes.com. You can also book a group workshop online or in person. Again, head on over to theninjababes.com. You can also just send me an email at theninjababes@gmail.com to find out more information or to book. Don't forget also to write your reviews. If you want that double discount code, then go ahead, write a review on iTunes or on Facebook for the Ninja Babes. You can do it for the podcast or just for Ninja Babes in general. You can even write a review on a product, whatever it is. Just write us a review and then show us proof of that review and we will send you your one-time discount code. All right, Ninja Babes, thank you so much for listening. I'm honored to dive into this content with you every week. Be strong, be you, be a Ninja Babe.